Hello again, everybody. It is Tuesday, once again, August 27th, 2024, and I am Dr. Richard Smith, Executive Chairman of the Foundation for the Study of Cycles, and this is Cycles TV. And I hope everybody's having a good week. We're entering into probably the most quiet week of the markets after tomorrow, after Nvidia reports. And we are going to take a look at Nvidia today and some associated indices to see if we can get a little peek into the future through our Cycles technology. But before doing that, I just want to again review what we covered last week and take a little look and see how we did. So let me jump in here. Let me make some adjustments to my screen here. Give me just a second. All righty. Getting there. Getting this live streaming stuff down. So we covered a few assets last week, and in particular, we were talking about gold. And my summary of gold last week was, I think there's still more room to run in the gold bull market, though we are getting toppy, daily looking shaky, 2H looking shaky, 15-minute is giving a sell signal. I'd be interested in selling gold here over the next week, especially if the 2H gives a sell signal. Stop right above recent highs. All right, let's have a look. Here we were, I think last week on the 15-minute chart of gold. I saved these charts so I can review them and see how we did. Didn't go straight down from there, but it didn't go up either, right? So pretty good for a 15-minute cycle. And then if we look at the 2-hour cycle on gold, we were right here when we last talked. And indeed, we did get a sell signal in the cyclic RSI. I think the 15-minute anticipated it. And we got this nice little move down right into the bottom of the cycle. And now we're moving back up on this cycle. So keep this cycle in mind. It's the 125 period cycle. Excuse me. So 125 periods of 2-hour data, right? There's 115 hours of trading in the futures markets every week. So, 125 2-hour periods top to top is a little over 2 weeks, probably 2 weeks and a day. So this is, not dissimilar to the Bitcoin cycle, a little longer than the Bitcoin cycle in that it's kind of like, a week and a day up, a week and a day down. So this bottomed on the 23rd, 22nd. And actually, I've got a new feature that I can remind it's not new. I just haven't been using it. I can zoom in on these charts even better, though. But this cycle in gold tops August 30th. And on the whole, I still think gold is in a bull market. We'll see. Like I said, looking toppy, but if I go just kind of review where we're at in gold, look at these trends. Gold is the most positive of all the trends that I'm following. And the cycles, the 2-hour cycle is still on the upswing. We could actually update this to use all the latest data. 125 period cycle is still sticking out quite clearly and still has room to run out to August 30th. All right, so that was it on gold. Let's have a look at what else we looked at. And these are timestamps, 3154 from when I said these in last week's session. So if you want to go back and review, feel free. Buy signal on daily data for the S&P 500. 2-hour getting toppy, but momentum still going up. So let's go take a look. This was where we were last week at this time, right here. August, end of close, August 19th was the data that we had. This is the 2-hour data. And, looking toppy, didn't go down, but also didn't really go up. Caught this little bottom here. Not bad. On the daily data, we continue to move up. We were here last week. We've had a overall net up. We are at the bottom of the 81-day cycle, which is one of the most common cycles in equities and in the markets, period. So the daily cycle is definitely bullish with a momentum buy signal. Doesn't mean we're not going to get volatility. Frankly, right now we're getting a lot of chop in the markets. Things are just, kind of sideways with people being on vacation, end of August, back to school, etc. So don't expect a lot of action if you want to take a little holiday yourself. It's a good time. All right, continuing on, and then we'll get to Nvidia, etc. We looked at bonds. I've been bullish on bonds, for a little while now. Been practically pounding the table. And we looked at the 5-year treasuries, and I said, I like that trade. So what happened? Here we were, the bottom of a couple of cycles. We had the little, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All those cycles kind of coming together at the bottom there. And we've had a nice move up following Chairman Powell's change of heart. I still think bonds, you don't want to be short. What else? Bitcoin up week. Cautiously bullish, though don't think it's off to the races yet. So the Bitcoin up week, we've been following this 114, 115 period cycle on Bitcoin. Here we were. At this time last week, and cycle bottomed and has been moving up nicely. Not off to the races yet. I think it really has to get above 64,000 decisively before, and even before I'd really be excited about the long side of Bitcoin. But we are still lingering in the end of Bitcoin up week into, through tomorrow. Momentum is waning though, but pretty good performance of the cycle so far. And lastly, we looked at crude, and I said a bottom in oil is imminent, short-term bullishness that could be quite strong. And we looked at this. This was the chart last week. We were right about here. So we had, let's see, about 24 hours of bottoming, and then quite a strong up move here over the past week. So I'd say that was pretty good performance from our cycles and from our cycles technology. So again, we're giving this away for free on YouTube here. Give me just a second to ask for your support from the foundation, for the foundation. And in particular right now, this week, we've invited a few select people to join our highest level of engagement at the foundation. And believe me, none of us are getting rich off this, but supporting the foundation as part of the master working group, where you can actually get access to our beta tools, the tools I'm using myself, that eventually, will get out to everybody else. But in the meantime, right now, if you look here, for example, we've recently connected our user interface to an entirely new database. And we can look at hourly data, 2-hour data, 4-hour data, daily data, etc. And we're doing this together. in our master working group. So if you're interested in learning more about the master working group, then it's a cycles think tank together with the kind of inside beta access to the tools we're developing at our own expense. Lars and I have put tremendous resources into this. Yes, we do hope to get paid someday, but right now it's all for you. So please consider taking a look and joining us if you're getting value from everything we are bringing to you here on Cycles TV. All right, so let's move on now. I do want to briefly just revisit gold here for a minute, because I do think the bull market in gold is still lingering. It has not turned the other way yet. It is looking toppy, but things are still going pretty strong. This is where we were last week on the small trader sentiment. We've had a little bit of a pullback in trader sentiment, but that's actually good while prices have been kind of going up. So I think there's a little more room to run, especially this week with the cycle that we were looking at earlier. And we can see that the commercials are continuing to happily sell at this price, and small traders are getting more and more bullish. That doesn't mean that the top is here, right? So if we go back and look at the gold cycle that we were looking at earlier, right? So let's go back and look at the 2-hour data on gold. The latest data, got this 124 period cycle. Let me see if this works. Make a couple of adjustments here. Turn on the AI peak finder. Okay, good. All right, so we got 124 and we got this 70 also, but I mean, the 124 is doing the job. So I think there's still some life left in the gold bull market. All right, so let us now look at, let's start to take a look at Nvidia. Actually, I'm going to stay over here for a minute. This is the daily data on Nvidia. I don't have my Jupyter notebooks on Nvidia like I do for futures. So we're just looking that, Nvidia did cross below a couple of its moving averages. This is 50 and 100, but is currently back above them, and solidly so, and for a good couple of weeks as well. So trends are still bullish on Nvidia. This is getting into the Nasdaq, but I just want to look at a couple of things before we go look at the cycles. Okay, this is the small trader sentiment on the Nasdaq, and this was back here during the brief yen carry trade pilot run, but bullishness has returned as the market has rallied. We're not at super bullish levels on the Nasdaq, but we actually probably see this get into the red before we got a major turn in the Nasdaq. So I think this is not super bearish. And then if we look at the commitment of traders data, the commercials here are not as bearish as they've been, right? So they were more bearish here back at the beginning of the year, and they've been lightening up on their bearishness. And small traders are getting bullish, but not nosebleed bullish yet. So sentiment is not flashing red. Let's just put it that way on the Nasdaq. Trend-wise, the Nasdaq is fighting with its 50-day moving average right now on daily data. And I think that's all the slides I got there. So now we can jump back over to our signals page, okay, on the Nasdaq. So we've got the trends pretty positive on the whole, okay, +5 on the total score there. So obviously a little negative in the short term, but the cycles, we're going to start to get into those. All right. Give me just a second here. Let's start with Nvidia. This is a weekly cycle on Nvidia. Going to go log scale on the right axis here. So because Nvidia has been parabolic, exponential for a little while now. And this definitely is in the topping stages on our longest time frame, which is the 171 week cycle. So what is that, about 3 years? So this is March of 21 here to July of 24. So we are at the top of the weekly cycle. Let me blow this up a little bit. With, a pretty clear momentum sell signal from the cyclic RSI. That's warning sign number 1. Let's go down and look at the daily now. On the daily, we see the 80-day cycle. We see that a lot, right? We just looked at it in the S&P 500. Okay, if we're just looking at the 80-day cycle, very similar to the S&P 500, a little further along. We've got a buy signal, with a cyclic RSI momentum buy signal. We do have some waning momentum here. Okay, I'm making this all bigger so everybody can see it. Got a little bit of waning momentum here, but still, that is a solid cyclic RSI buy signal. And we're moving into the 80-day, the up phase of the 80-day cycle, which doesn't top until end of September. Okay, so on the daily cycle, we've got the weekly cycle that hasn't, that's topped, but has given a sell signal on the weekly cycle, but hasn't really started falling yet. We've got the daily cycle that's just given a new buy signal. Now we're looking at the 2-hour data. Got some very nice clear peaks in the spectrum at 143 and at 246. Even got this 73 down here. Not looking too good. So a lot of conflict in the Nvidia cycles between all the different time frames, right? This is not a back up the truck moment one way or the other, I'm afraid to say. But on the shorter term, we have a pretty clear sell signal here. I wouldn't be surprised to see some disappointment out of the earnings call tomorrow. But I probably would be looking to buy on any weakness based on what I'm seeing so far. Now, I'm doing this analysis in real time. I mean, I've prepared some of this. I haven't completely thought it all through, and some of this analysis is happening in real time. So let's keep going, see the associated indices, etc. Look at some lower time frames before we make a final conclusion. But I think this 2-hour chart is compelling. the cycles are compelling and the momentum is compelling. So I see a little shorter term weakness on Nvidia so far. Lastly, on Nvidia specifically, if we jump down to the 15-minute data, got a nice clear cycle here, this 163. Bartels is 97.88. Okay. You know, how many data points is this? This is just the stand, about 900 data points. Let's zoom in on this a little bit. Momentum is still heading down. Okay. We haven't gotten that turn in momentum yet, but the cycle is turning up. And if we, I mean, we can just look at it visually: top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom-ish. This 15-minute goes out till about the end of the day tomorrow. So maybe some bullishness into tomorrow, and maybe a little disappointment. Just saying, could be. That's what the cycles are suggesting. But overall, daily, you know, bullish. Longer term, though, not the time to be backing up the truck on Nvidia. All right, that is the cycles on Nvidia. Now let's take a look at the semiconductors. Last week, I forget who asked to look at semiconductors, but we started to take a look. Not surprisingly, you know, seeing a similar setup as in Nvidia, but more weakness from the semiconductors in general, right? That cycle definitely looks like it's topped and is actually starting to move down. You know, this 174, whereas on the weekly on Nvidia, we were looking at, here's the weekly on Nvidia. We were looking at the 171. So very close between Nvidia and the SOXX. Okay. And it is very helpful when we're doing cycles analysis to look at multiple assets, multiple related assets, because we want to find the cycles that are most common, most persistent, right? So the SOXX, I would say, is reinforcing the idea that semiconductors are likely to see weakness, you know, soon, and actually have started to see weakness already. All right, now let's look at the daily cycles. Again, similar to Nvidia, similar to the stock market, we see the daily cycles, the 80-day cycle here, and the 199 or 200-day cycle. You know, similar setup. So I expect, you know, more rallies before the end of the year. And on the daily data, we're definitely seeing some bullishness in the stock market in general, in the semiconductors, and in Nvidia. All right, next up, go down to look at some intraday data on the SOXX. This is the 60-minute data. Okay, so it's not the, we could actually look at the 2-hour data. It's probably the same cycle here. Again, you know, weakness on the shorter term on the 2-hour, very similar to Nvidia. It's a momentum deteriorating. And finally, you won't be surprised, on the 15-minute, nice clear cycle here, suggesting some bullishness at least through the end of today. Maybe topping a little earlier than Nvidia. All right, so we've got a picture of cycles on Nvidia. We got a picture of cycles on semiconductors in general. Now let's take a look at the Nasdaq. All right. Here are the daily cycles that I put together for you on the Nasdaq. You won't be surprised to see the 80-day cycle figuring prominently in here. It's also a 51-day. Could do that one or not, up to you. And the 200-day cycle, which we also saw in the SOXX at 199, right? Here it is, 202 in the Nasdaq. Cycles are very bullish, the daily cycles in the Nasdaq through the end of the year. So I'm not sure where our August, September weakness is going to come from. I'm hoping to see it. Haven't seen it yet. Was this just little carry trade, pilot run, enough of a correction that the market needed to make its next run up? I don't think so, but certainly hasn't been proven otherwise yet. Here's the 2-hour cycles on the Nasdaq, right? Got the 91 and the 272. The 91 is actually bottoming right now. It's not a beautiful spectrum, but the 91 is pretty clear. $272, pretty bearish with the bearish momentum sell signal. Last but not least, a very clear cycle from the 15-minute data on the Nasdaq. 185. We've seen that one before on the 15-minute data. Topping tomorrow morning, midnight tonight in the futures markets. Okay, but definitely up at the moment. And if we look in here, we try zooming in a little bit more. There we go. There we go. You can even see momentum starting to turn up. So wouldn't say we're completely out of the woods here, but this looks pretty positive for the rest of today into tomorrow. All right, so that is a look at Nvidia, semiconductors, and the Nasdaq. Let me see what's on your mind. Keith, can you take a quick look at silver? Looks interesting now. I will get back to that. Thanks for being here. Smiles are good. Where do you obtain the daily sentiment index for the gold chart? I get it from Jake Bernstein, the fellow board member and early mentor of mine in markets. Good friend. And he has some great products, the daily sentiment index, seasonal trader, both of which I've been involved with for a long time. I built Seasonal Trader for Jake. That was my first website that I ever did in the markets back in, I think, 2002. So I get it from Jake Bernstein. You can also get something, similar for free from the commitment of traders data. I think that's from the Chicago Board of Trade. A number of vendors make it available inexpensively, but you can get the non-reportables data from the commitment of traders report. That's us, the small traders, the ones that don't have big enough positions for anybody to care about. And it's similar to the daily sentiment index from Jake. Thanks for the question. What platform are you using with the 3 indicators at the bottom? That is also fellow board member Andy Pancholi's advanced market timing report tools. So you can go to markettimingreport.com and learn about Andy Pancholi's tools. So he's got a cool commitment of traders dashboard where you really can get a lot of detail on it. And he graciously makes that available to me and occasionally shares it here with the FSC. That's where that came from. All right. Kelly or Keith, what has been your experience using intraday cycles for individual small and mid-cap stocks? I don't know. I haven't done it yet. I am interested in it. I'm getting to the point that I'm able to let the machines do a lot of the work of finding stuff. Kind of pioneered these methods along with Lars on the futures markets. But it is getting to the point where machines are getting powerful enough, data readily available, and our algorithms are getting powerful enough that I do think we're going to be able to start looking more broadly. So bottom line, I don't have a good answer for you today, Keith, but it's a good question. I'm interested in it myself. Stay tuned. All right, Hope, agree with your buy on weakness tomorrow. Glad the cycle suggests the same. Yeah, by nature, I'm a contrarian and I wish I could be bearish right now. I really do. But not seeing it in the indicators. All right. What about, so the weekly on the Nasdaq? Sure, Bill, we can take a look at that, and then I'll get to some of these other inquiries. So let's jump back. All right, Nasdaq. I know where I can get it. Actually, let's go back to the signals page. Yeah, nope. Okay. We're just going to have to run it from scratch. Oops. Might take a minute to load, but we'll go grab it from Yahoo Finance. NQ equals F dash W for weekly. I think if we just go, while that's loading, we can look over here at the signals page. These are the weekly cycles on the E-mini S&P, the Nasdaq. 9 means kind of bottomed recently and turning up. The Dow just bottomed. The Russell just bottomed. Treasury bonds just bottomed, or the 2 years just bottomed on the weekly data. Still think the 2 year and the 4 year, we got these big buy signals on the 2 hour data, 5 year, 2 year and 5 year on treasuries. All right, so here's the weekly data on the Nasdaq. Let me close this over here. This is going back about probably 850 data points. Yep. Let's make this log scaled. Maybe go back and grab this low here. I mean, already we see a pretty clear cycle, 171. This is the 100 and, this is the 40 41 month, 41 month cycle, right? That we've seen since Dewey first identified it back in the 50s. So, and tracked it back to the 1850s. But, you know, I don't know. Some people aren't interested in that. I am. All right, let's go take it back a little further here on the weekly data. Cycle clears up even more, 176. Looking toppy, but top's not in yet. And, you know, momentum has peaked, but this could easily end up going a lot higher. We see a lot of right translation in the weekly cycles for the Nasdaq, meaning that the tops happen to the right of the cycle top, right? So that's usually a sign of a bull market when you see the peaks happening in price after the peak happens in cycles. Okay, so, you know, right translation here, right translation here. That would be a change if we saw a pullback, you know, right in the middle of the cycle or right now. That would be a significant indication that the bull market isn't giving us that right translation, that kind of, you know, the market pushing a little further than the cycle tops. So right now, you know, the tops basically end of September, 5-6 weeks. We're close. Momentum is curling down, but it didn't make it out of the top bar here. So weekly, I'd say, is looking toppy, but not there yet. All right, good question. As long as we are here, I wanted to take a look at natural gas. So let me just let me try some here. Again, this is part of our new database that's available now to members of the master working group who are helping us to put it through the paces before we make it more widely available. All right, so let's start a little higher on natural gas. So the daily here, got the 73-day cycle, 37, maybe 172. You know, on the whole, like I said, the cycles are bullish on the daily and weekly on natural gas for sure. If we go look at the 2-hour data on natural gas, obviously this has been disappointing. We haven't broken the lows yet, but still think, you know, we've got pretty positive momentum divergence here. This is the 190 period cycle. I think it's the number one cycle for sure. So I still am leaning bullish. But again, you know, my bullishness is over weeks and months. Okay. Got a small position in natural gas. I don't recommend anybody back up the truck right now. I'm just trying to get ahead of what I think could be a big move up, and I want my toes in the water before that happens. And natural gas will drive any trader crazy. But I don't think we've seen the basic thesis broken yet. All right, somebody else wanted to look at silver. All right, we'll start here on the daily data. Got some pretty clear cycles, especially this 188 here, sticking out nicely. Might want to add a little bit more data there to see. Yeah, I like going off those bottoms. So that cycle stuck around. That's good. Cycle's only halfway down, but momentum has turned up. Price is turning up. Not a new high. Let's add a few of these other cycles. That 94-day cycle is kind of driving the action there. And 284. Look at that. That is a very nice 1, 2, 3. 90, 180, 270, right? Doesn't look good to me. And it's weaker than gold, right? If we go back and look at what was going on with gold on the 2-hour data, we didn't get really, that was last week, right? We haven't broken those highs. Still kind of thinking we will. But silver in general has been significantly weaker than gold, right? Hasn't even made new highs, let alone the previous highs, right? So we'll see. And then this longer cycle here, this 284 is bearish for a good little bit on the daily data. Let's drill down and look at the 2-hour data on silver. Okay, we got some clear cycles, 69 and 181. Let's grab a little more data here. Make sure we're current. I think we are. Go off this bottom. That muddied the waters. Yeah. We're going to have to go back to it's a little better. The cycles in silver, bearish on the 2-hour, 181 and 69. Also bearish. So momentum down a little bit. Even a sell signal here. That's what we got. All right. I think we've covered a lot today. Sorry if I didn't get to all your questions. Equities look bullish. Trends are bullish. Cycles are bullish. Daily cycles are bottoming. 2 hours look a little shaky. Wouldn't be surprised to see some weakness. Unless we see some major support areas break, my guess is it's going to be a buying opportunity. Hope you're appreciating all the great free content we're bringing to you. These are real signals we're delivering here on YouTube between all the contributors, but particularly Lars. And we've seen some really good signals here, which we've been documenting over the last couple of weeks. So we appreciate your support. If you're not a member already, please join us. There's a link below. And if you're interested in possibly joining us at our most elite level, our cycles think tank, really, where we're also going more into depth in these tools and hearing from other cycles analysts, reach out to us, see if the master working group might be right for you. All right, thanks everybody. I think next week is Labor Day, if I'm not mistaken. Probably no show next week on Tuesday. We'll take a little hiatus, and then by the time I get back in 2 weeks, I really hope, I'm pretty confident that some of the tools I've been showing you around the risk management will be available for me to start sharing them with you. So thanks. Have a great Labor Day. Great to spend time with you as always, and be careful out there. And the next week or so is a good time to take a break if you need one. Take care.